The packet of snacks fell to the ground, bursting open as laughter exploded around him. "Look at him," someone shouted, "trying to sell chips like he owns a store." The boy froze. His small hands trembled as he stared at the crushed packet scattered across the pavement, crumbs mixing with dust and dirt. His face flushed red, not from heat, but from humiliation so deep it felt like it was burning through his chest. People were watching, some smiling, some whispering, some just ignoring. Have you ever been in a moment where you wished the ground would open and swallow you whole? Because that's exactly how it felt. 12-year-old Noah bent down slowly, his fingers shaking as he tried to gather what was left of the snacks. His worn-out slippers scraped against the rough street, and his faded shirt clung to his back with sweat. "Hey, don't touch that," one of the teenagers mocked, stepping closer. "It's garbage now, just like your business." More laughter. Noah didn't respond. He couldn't, because if he spoke, he might cry, and crying in front of them would only make it worse. So he stayed silent, swallowing everything, like he always did. A car engine hummed softly nearby. Expensive, smooth, out of place in a street like this. Inside it sat a man who hadn't said a single word. But he had seen everything. Ethan Cole, a self-made millionaire, a man who had built his empire from nothing, brick by brick, failure by failure, loss by loss. And yet, what he was seeing right now felt heavier than any business deal he had ever faced. His hand rested on the steering wheel, but his grip tightened slowly. His eyes didn't leave the boy, because something about him felt familiar, too familiar. Have you ever seen someone and felt like you were looking at your own past? Because that's what this was. The laughter outside grew louder. One of the boys kicked another snack packet across the street. "Go get it," he smirked. "That's your job, right?" Noah stood there, still, his eyes lowered, his shoulders slightly hunched, defeated, but not broken, not yet, and that difference was everything. Ethan exhaled slowly, a long breath, the kind that carries memory. Because years ago, that boy was him, standing in a place where dignity had no price, where survival meant swallowing humiliation, where people didn't see you. They saw your struggle, and laughed. His jaw tightened. The door of the car opened. The sound was soft, but it cut through the noise outside. The laughter faded slightly as people turned. Because when someone powerful steps into a situation, the energy changes, instantly. Ethan stepped out, clean suit, polished shoes, calm presence. He didn't rush, he didn't shout, he just walked forward, slow, controlled, and every step felt heavier than the last. The teenagers looked at him, confused. "Who's this?" one muttered. Ethan didn't answer them. He walked straight toward Noah, and stopped, right in front of him. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Noah looked up slowly, confused, guarded, used to disappointment. Ethan crouched down slightly, bringing himself to the boy's level. "Are you okay?" he asked. His voice was calm, gentle, but firm. Noah blinked. He wasn't expecting that. "I'm fine," he muttered. A lie, a weak one, but one he had learned to use. Ethan looked at the crushed snacks on the ground. Then back at Noah. "How much for all of them?" he asked. The question caught everyone off guard. "What?" Noah said softly. Ethan repeated it. "How much?" Noah hesitated. "They're ruined," he said. Ethan shook his head. "No," he replied quietly. "They're yours." A pause. The street went silent again. Because something strange was happening. Something unexpected. Noah looked at him. "Really look this time. Why would you buy them?" he asked. Ethan held his gaze, and for a moment, his eyes softened. Because this wasn't just about snacks anymore. It was about something deeper. Something that had been waiting for a moment like this. "Because," Ethan said slowly, "I know what it feels like to stand where you're standing." The words landed softly, but they hit hard. Noah didn't respond. He didn't know how, because no one had ever said something like that to him before. Ethan reached into his pocket, pulled out his wallet, and without hesitation, he handed Noah far more money than the snacks were worth. Noah's eyes widened. I can't take this," he said quickly. Ethan didn't pull his hand back. "Yes, you can." The teenagers watched, silent now, because the power had shifted completely. Have you ever seen a moment where everything changes, without anyone raising their voice? Because this was that moment. Noah slowly reached out, his fingers trembling. He took the money, carefully, like it might disappear. "Thank you," he whispered. Ethan nodded slightly, but he wasn't done, not even close. He stood up, turned, and looked directly at the teenagers. Not angry, not loud, just firm. You think this is funny? He asked. No one answered, because suddenly, it wasn't funny anymore. You laugh at someone trying to work. He continued, trying to survive. Silence, heavy, uncomfortable. Ethan took a step closer. You should be ashamed, he said quietly. No shouting, no threats, just truth. And sometimes, truth hits harder than anything else. The boys looked away, one by one, because they felt it, that weight, that realization, that moment where you understand. You were wrong. Ethan turned back to Noah. And for a second, his expression changed again, softer, more personal. What's your name? He asked. Noah, the boy replied. Ethan nodded. I'm Ethan. Another pause. Then, he asked something unexpected. Do you go to school? Noah hesitated, then shook his head slightly. Not anymore. Something in Ethan's eyes shifted. Deeper, darker. Because now, this wasn't just about one moment. This was about a life. A future. A path that was slowly closing. Have you ever realized that one small moment is actually part of something much bigger? Because Ethan just did, and what he was about to do next would shock everyone even more. Because helping once was never enough, and for the first time in a long time, he felt something stronger than success. Responsibility. And this time, he wasn't going to walk away. Ethan didn't move right away. He stood there, looking at Noah, not as a stranger, not as a poor boy selling snacks on the street, but as something much more dangerous to ignore. A reflection, a reminder, a version of himself he had tried so hard to forget. The air around them felt different now. The laughter had died, the noise had faded, even the street seemed to be holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Noah shifted slightly, still holding the money in his hand like it didn't belong to him. What are you looking at? He asked quietly, unsure, almost uncomfortable under Ethan's gaze. Ethan blinked, pulling himself back to the present. I'm looking at someone who shouldn't be here, he said. Noah frowned. What do you mean? Ethan glanced around. The broken pavement, the cracked walls, the tired faces watching from a distance. I mean you should be somewhere else, he replied. Somewhere better. Noah gave a small, bitter smile. People like me don't get better places, he said. The words weren't angry. They were worse. They were accepted. Final. Have you ever heard someone speak in a way that made you realize they had already given up on something they deserved? Ethan felt it like a weight in his chest. Because he had said the same thing once. Years ago, standing on a street not so different from this one. Hungry, ignored, invisible. He crouched again, closer this time. Who told you that? He asked. Noah looked down. No one, he said. Life did. Silence. Deep, heavy, real. Ethan nodded slowly, as if he understood every word without needing more explanation. Where are your parents? He asked gently. Noah hesitated, then answered. My mom, she's sick. His voice softened on the last word. Like even saying it out loud made it more real. Ethan's expression tightened slightly. And your father? Noah shook his head. Left. Simple. Short. Final. Ethan exhaled slowly, because now everything made sense. The snacks. The street. The silence. The way Noah stood there, strong, but carrying something too heavy for his age. Have you ever seen a child forced to grow up too fast? Because that's what this was. Ethan stood up again. This time, his movements felt different. More decided, more focused. He looked at Noah for one last moment, then said something that no one expected. Come with me. The street went still again. Noah blinked. What? Ethan's voice remained calm. Come with me, he repeated. Noah stepped back slightly. I can't, he said quickly. Fear, doubt, instinct, all at once. Rosa, an older woman from across the street, whispered to someone nearby, what is he doing? The teenagers watched again, this time not with arrogance, but confusion. Because now, this wasn't just a moment. This was something else entirely. Ethan noticed Noah's hesitation, so he softened his tone. I'm not asking you to trust me blindly, he said. I'm asking you to give yourself a chance. Noah's grip tightened around the money. My mom, he said. Ethan nodded. Then we go to her first. That changed something. A small shift, but enough. Have you ever felt your fear and hope fighting at the same time? Noah nodded slowly. Okay. The word came out fragile, but real. Ethan turned toward his car. Let's go. The door opened, and for a moment, Noah hesitated again, because stepping into that car Felt like stepping into another world. One he didn't belong to. But then, he remembered the street, the laughter, the humiliation, and something inside him said, "Don't stay where you're not valued." So he stepped forward, and got in. The car door closed softly. But the impact of that moment was loud, very loud. The street watched as the car drove away. And for the first time, they weren't laughing, they were thinking. The car ride was quiet. Noah sat stiffly, his eyes moving between the window and Ethan. Everything felt unreal. The leather seats, the smooth motion, the silence. "You don't have to be scared," Ethan said. Noah didn't look at him. "I'm not scared," he replied. Another lie. Ethan didn't call it out. Because he understood. Some fears don't need words. "Tell me about your mom," Ethan said instead. Noah's expression softened slightly. "She used to work," he said. "But now, she can't." "Why?" "She gets tired," Noah said. "All the time." Ethan nodded slowly. His mind was already moving ahead. Planning. Connecting. Because this wasn't random anymore. This was responsibility. They reached a small apartment building. Old, worn, barely holding together. Noah stepped out.